shut them all down. Piracy was shut down by a pirate, not by the government. They're the biggest pirates of all. Always have been, still are. So we look upon ourselves as pirates of compassion in pursuit of pirates of profit. This year we went down to the southern oceans with 3 ships. We came back with 2. One of our ships was deliberately rammed, cut in 2, and sunk by a Japanese harpoon vessel. And the captain, Pete Bethune, is now a prisoner in Japan, and he'll be going on trial, charged with numerous things, but most of them are politically inspired. But one of the things that I was most impressed by is they charged him under the Control of Swords Act because he had a knife, as any sailor does. And because he had that knife and he boarded a harpoon vessel in the dead of night and knocked on the door of the wheelhouse and presented himself, he was arrested. He was basically confronting the captain of the vessel that had destroyed his ship. He was arrested. Well, the Control of Swords Act was brought in to control the samurai, a Japanese tradition, back in 1865. And what they're trying to say is that whaling is actually a tradition that they're defending. Well, in fact, whaling was introduced to Japan, modern whaling, by General Douglas MacArthur. So if whaling is a tradition, so isn't the American occupation. I don't think they want that back. But being charged under the Control of Sword Act makes Pete Bethune the last samurai. So we're proud to have the last samurai in our crew. And over the years when we're talking about courage, I have seen such courage amongst my crew that it's unbelievable. Doing things that, I just find incredible that people have that passion to go ahead and do what they do. And over the years we've done some rather silly things. In hindsight, in 1981, we landed on Soviet Siberia, the first people to invade Russia since World War II, to get evidence on illegal whaling activities. And we stepped out of the boat, and there were 2 Soviet soldiers patrolling the beach as we went out about documenting this. But they just thought we were Russians, because who else would be landing on a Soviet beach with cameras? We were just too audacious. So for 40 minutes, we documented everything, and then we went back to our boat. And as I was pushing the boat out, a Russian soldier came over and he pointed at the boat and he said, "Что это? What is that?" And I said, "Это Zodiac, it's a Zodiac." And he says, "Это Mercury," and that's when it suddenly dawned on me we're in trouble, Mercury outboard engines. And they said, "American." I turned my back on him to push the boat out, and I said to the 2 guys in the boat, one with the cameras, I said, "What's he doing?" "Oh, he's taking his gun down." I said, "Wave and smile at him." So they waved and smiled. And it's pretty hard to shoot somebody when they're waving and smiling at them, I think. So that confused him, and he ran off to, we saw him running up the hill. We got back to the boat, and we were cruising along, feeling pretty good. We had got all the documentation on their illegal whaling activities that we needed. And about an hour later, 2 helicopter gunships came out of nowhere and started strafing our bows with flares. And shortly thereafter, a big Soviet frigate pulled up alongside. And as they pulled up alongside, the captain said, "Stop your ship and prepare to be boarded by Soviet Union." I said, "Captain, we don't have room for the Soviet Union. We're not stopping." Nobody had ever said no to them before. And quite frankly, they didn't know how to deal with no. And they chased us for an hour, and we passed back into U.S. waters and got away with it. And we've got away with these things so many times. Like in 1979, we had chased the pirate whaler Sierra across the Atlantic, and I had it cornered in a harbor in Portugal. And I brought my crew in together. I had 20 crew, well, including myself. And I said, "Look, I can't say you're not going to get hurt on this. We're going to go out, and we're going to ram that ship, and we're going to disable it, because it's a pirate whaling ship, and it's about time its career was ended." And I said, "But I can guarantee you one thing. We're all going to go to prison in Portugal, because there's no way we can get out of that. So you got 10 minutes to pack your stuff and get on the dock, because we're heading out there, with or without you." 10 minutes later, of my crew of 20, 17 were on the dock. Fortunately, the 2 guys who stayed were engineers. So I was able to, that's all you really need. We got the engines going, pulled out, went at the Sierra, hit it on the harpoon to damage it, and warned them, did a 360-degree turn around them, came in at 15 knots, struck them broadside, and split them open to the waterline. They were shooting us at us at the time. And then we tried to leave, but of course the Portuguese Navy came after us and brought us back. And I was brought before the port captain and charged with gross criminal negligence, at which point I told him there wasn't anything negligent about it. We hit him exactly where we wanted to hit him. It was intentional. And he said, "Well, yeah, that's true, but I don't know who owns that boat, and until I can find an owner, you're free to go." And we walked out, and one of my crew who had got off before, he said, "Well, if I knew you were going to get away with it, I would have been there too." So sometimes you have to go into these things knowing that there's really no way to get away with it. And those are the risks that we've been taking over the years. And I think those are acceptable risks, because the one thing I'm most afraid of is that we're going to destroy diversity in our world's oceans. And if that happens, we're all in serious trouble. And every single commercial fishery right now is in a state of collapse. And every species on this planet is a rivet in the hull of the biosphere of spaceship Earth. And we're going to pull one species too many, and we're going to have some very serious problems with our life support system. Because there are basic laws of ecology, the law of biodiversity, the law of interdependence of those species, and the law of finite resources. And no species has ever survived on this planet without living in accordance with those three basic laws. And last year I was severely criticized on the Fox network because I said, you know, worms are more important than people. And everybody got really upset. But, you know, I made that statement intentionally. Why? Because it's true. Worms are more important than people. Why? Because they can live on the earth without us. We cannot live without them. Bees are more important than we are because we can't live without them. They can live without us. And that's what we have to realize and understand, that if we're going to survive on this planet, we have to respect the rights of all of those species to survive, because we need them more than they need us. Thank you.
Every once in a while, there's a scientific discovery completely the way we view something that we learned in school, and causes us to completely rethink